The 2011 local government elections brought to you live and clear by the SAB.
It all culminates in the local government elections now just a few days away. The SABC's current affairs program Newsbreak on Lotus FM has been on its own campaign trail. We've traveled the country giving a voice to you, the listener, letting you tell the stories that need to be heard by those vying for your vote. You've raised concerns about a lack of housing in Lenasia, drugs in Chatsworth, unemployment in Cape Town, and the list goes on. In Phoenix, Pietermaritzburg, and even during our youth debate hosted at the Durban University of Technology, political parties were again pressed to make concrete promises with definite targets while committing to timeframes. But did they deliver? Let's find out now. Prabashni Naika brings us the highlights from our election roadshow over the past 2 months in this special feature report.
Phoenix, Chatsworth, Pietermaritzburg, Lenasia, the Durban University of Technology and Cape Town. Newsbreak has been there. From interviewing taxi drivers on freeways
Plaza, Pine View, Brookjail, Terence Manor,
to roaming campuses canvassing the opinions of youth, Newsbreak has given a voice to various communities.
Number one, the drugs. Number two, the police. They'll go past there, but they wouldn't do anything.
I won't never vote. Make more jobs for the youngsters, man. No use finishing metric and we're sitting on the streets. I'm selling DVDs here, but I got a metric, I got a distinction in maths, but I can't get a job in a bank.
They call it the grant money, and they got no money for bread. Because the people don't sleep without food. The lights come too high, they can't afford it. That's why I say the rich get more richer, the poor get more poor.
The roads are so filthy, they don't even come and clean the roads. But when the voting time comes, they're ever ready to come and ask us to vote for them, but they don't do nothing for their people. Our rates, our rent is so high, lights and water coming so high. We are full of nonsense because we don't vote for anybody. It's better. It's not voting for anybody. I'd rather tell you straight.
The taxes are so high, we don't get healthcare, we don't get schooling for the children.
After hosting 6 election debates and travelling around the country on Newsbreak's Election Debate Roadshow, we've reached the climax. Looking back at the most burning issues raised at each debate, housing, unemployment, and the increased cost of electricity and fuel topped the agenda.
All politicians know that the people sell sugars to our children.
Our journey began at Phoenix, where drugs and prostitution plagued that community.
That sugar's killing them. They don't even have a bath. You know, girls sell themselves corner over here in the night for like 15 rand, 20 rand.
Can you manage your audience?
Vibrant and fiery, the Phoenix debate hosted at the Stonebridge Community Hall brought the community together. Residents used this opportunity to put forward to politicians their day-to-day concerns. Kevin Govender was one such person.
We are the future of tomorrow, not you guys that's sitting up there. But what has been done by all the parties to get the youth in the Indian areas, Chatsworth, Phoenix, involved in the parties? Look at this all. How many youths do you see up here? I mean, I have been fighting to try and find one party to join. Like how Julius Malema said, he's willing to pick up arms and fight. I am willing to pick up arms and fight for the opposition to the ANC.
Travelling north to Chatsworth, residents here too complained relentlessly about the drug scourge, unemployment and the lack of housing.
Some of the flats in Chatsworth have 8 people living in 1-bedroom house, yet 200 million rand from KwaZulu-Natal housing was transferred to other provinces.
If the ANC is in control of Chatsworth, you will see the houses being delivered here.
Chatsworth youth came out in their numbers. 19-year-old Delane Pillay raised the issue of unemployment, to which political analyst Kido Naidu responded.
What is being done about employment for the youth? We have this huge problem with drugs. So weren't the Indians also underprivileged when the whites were ruling? So how come do the blacks get more privileges now?
The whole idea of how drugs has taken root in this community and how it's become a real political issue is something that the politicians have to be alert to.
The Independent Electoral Commission, or IEC, placed a lot of focus on the youth vote this year. Taking this into consideration, the Newsbreak debate moved to the Durban University of Technology. Here too, unemployment, but also financial aid was a burning issue. Third-year journalism student Mazwi Ngobezi.
We have seen a number of student protests over the past few months. The biggest concern there has been financial aid.
What is even more disconcerting is the inability for students to find jobs as young professionals. This is essentially a problem because they have to pay the money back when they've received the financial aid. What are the political parties doing to address our concerns in terms of job creation collectively if we are all your issue as the youth?
This eThekwini municipality must create a youth committee where it can look at employment for youth. Today's youth is South Africa's future tomorrow. They need politicians to create that employment for them. Government employs the most people.
Questions around the affirmative action policy echoed throughout the debate. The ANC's Magdalene Munsami explained why the process was important, while the DA's Mbali Ntuli said job creation is not directly a government responsibility.
The unemployment crisis in the country is far more than 30%. It's actually beyond 36%. In all parts of the world, there continues to be unemployment. We have to go through a process of addressing inequalities.
Most important thing that youth need right now is opportunities. We believe in enterprise-driven economies, which means that we don't believe that creating jobs is the job of the government. We do believe that creating the right atmosphere for business is the job of the government.
Our next stop on the election roadshow took us to KZN's capital. Pietermaritzburg residents were fed up with dirty streets and high rates. Nithya Govender says he's had enough.
I'd like to question the ANC on why they sold the Indians out on the rates issue and the rates debacle. I was present and Yunus Karim said to me, Nithya, that fought for the Indian rates rebate 89, 90, 91, and 8 years later we went into the worst hole that we ever had. Worse than the apartheid regime.
The rates issue has always been work in progress. It's not just a Maritzburg issue, it's a national issue, the rates issue. 150,000 Rand rebate has been given to every single person.
Service delivery topped the agenda at Cape Town. Audience member Nasleen Bester asked about the city's underutilized budget, questioning where the excess money had gone to.
I'd like to ask the DA and the ID, in the last election, why did you refuse 550 million, which could be used for the poverty-stricken areas?
I'm going to ask the ID's Lance Kreling to respond to that. In fact, in the Western Cape, we are the only province to have spent all of our budgets. And in fact, in 2005-2006, what we saw under the ANC administration was that they only spent 60% of their budget in the city of Cape Town.
Our final leg of the Newsbreak election roadshow has brought us back to ground zero here at the SABC in Durban, giving you a platform to make an informed choice. With just 4 days to go before local government elections, the only question left to answer is, will South Africans take to the polls in their numbers? The 18th of May 2011 will tell. For Newsbreak, I'm Prabhashni Naika in Durban.
Good afternoon once again. We're coming to you live from the SABC's headquarters here in KwaZulu-Natal, the M1 studios, which are packed to capacity. We've got 100 or so audience members gathered here today. It ends our roadshow with a very special 1.5-hour broadcast today. We're gathered here with 6 political party representatives, but we also want to hear from you at home. You can give us a call on 089-310-8789. Let's introduce our panel for you this afternoon. Each of them will have 2 minutes to make introductory comments. And the question we're putting to each of them this afternoon is, as part of your vision for the country and for the voters, can you give us just 2 concrete promises with definite targets and realizable time frames? We'll start with the first person on my left then, that's the DA's George Murray.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to say we've identified 2 very critical issues that we're going to deal with. The first is in respect of jobs in this country, and the second is basically poverty. Now, poverty is a single issue that is affecting our communities throughout the country. Now, we have a situation where services, for instance, are unaffordable to communities, resulting in electricity and water actually being disconnected. We want to put in an indigent policy that would be there for the poorest of the poor and poor, so that services are affordable for the poorest of the poor, and where people can pay for services, we will ask them to actually pay for services. I think jobs is one of the biggest things, and we've heard many clips already in respect of jobs in South Africa. The ANC has promised jobs and jobs and jobs, but they failed to deliver. We will ensure that we have a policy like we do in the Western Cape, where we'll encourage investors to come into the city so that they can invest monies to create jobs for people. Once you have economic development taking place in metros, municipalities, and the various cities, you'll find that jobs is going to be created. We need to get incentives for businesses that want to come into South Africa and say, we are prepared to give you a tax break in the municipalities so that businesses can come there and establish themselves and create jobs for people. We are very concerned about these small micro businesses. Also, we will ensure that they are given opportunities to ensure that funding is made available to set up small businesses through partnerships with universities and other institutions that actually promote that. Now, the Democratic Alliance basically is a party, and it has a vision of an open opportunity society. We are a party that is for all the people, and we will deliver to all the peoples in this country.
Your time is over. We move next to the IFP's Ebrahim Sheikh. So you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Unemployment rate, and you've also heard from the clips of youths that there is a serious discrepancies regarding the youth empowerment program. While the country has spent millions of rands on youth seminars, it never ever gone down well with the youth. So the IFP is going to make sure that they're going to provide support to cooperatives, the SSMEs, informal traders, including those in the Warwick Junction. And we believe that you are the key to creating more jobs in the city. That is the business that is out there. And the IFP has always vindicated that when we start unrolling this program, you will be in a great position as businesses out there to create more jobs. And I don't believe that the government is in a position to create jobs. The government is in a position to create a conducive environment for business to flourish in South Africa on the whole, and whereby our different municipalities will benefit from local business people. As far as the issues around corruption, really that is a cancer that's eating and eroding this country. And therefore, the IFP is not going to tolerate corruption. It has not been tolerating corruption, and therefore there will be a mechanism in place.
Mr. Sheikh, thank you very much. Unfortunately, your time is up. Just a reminder to the 4 remaining panelists on the program then, we are asking for 2 concrete promises with definite targets and realizable time frames. Next up, we hear from the Minority Front's Amichand Rajbansi.
First of all, we must stand behind the subsistence fishermen. There are 200,000 along the coast of KwaZulu-Natal. Local government is the biggest creator of jobs. Local government is suffering from chronic cancer. The MEC for Housing has confirmed with the National Minister for Human Settlement that 200 million rand of job creation money from this province was returned unspent. She also said that 80% of the inspected homes have to be demolished, and you need 5 years of newly allocated money, 1.8 billion rand. There is fraud and corruption. We're supposed to create entrepreneurs. We are creating tenderpreneurs. There are 2 important areas where you can create jobs, and that is the informal sector and the SMMEs. When you are going to run a municipality with fraud and corruption, no transparency, no inter-party relationship, where you are running a council like Metro from a party political office by a clique of 3 people to triumvirate, then the collapse is going to go further. The MF cure is good, clean government, right? Check your procurement. And Western Cape is also suffering. The cancer is there. And we believe in multi-party approach. And anybody want to misinterpret multi-party approach belongs to an asylum, doesn't belong to a political party. MF has a solution. We can fight poverty with helping the small man. What is happening in this city is that there are negative people working in planning division, refusing plans, refusing alteration. People can't get work. If you build the manufacturing industry, if you've got the infrastructure,
Mr. Rajbansi,
you create
thank
jobs.
you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Next up, we hear from the Congress of the Peoples, Becky Kusi.
No, thank you very much. As Congress of the People, we are entering these upcoming local government elections with a big no more. We are saying no more because in this country there's been more corruption, more jobs for pearls, and there's been more empty promises. And as an organization, we believe that to deal with these objectives effectively and efficiently, we need to ensure that there's a clear separation between political party leadership and state leadership. Because in this country, you find that in a municipality is not run by officials who are qualified and employed to perform those specific tasks, but the municipalities are run by an organization. The municipalities are run in a political party organization office in that municipality, and whatever vision that the people are qualified to perform and ensure that services reach our people efficiently and timelessly, that is being derailed because the political party leadership will always interfere with the activities of the municipality. And we are saying, if we want to ensure that our municipalities are performing effectively and efficiently, we must make sure that there is a clear separation between those two powers. And we want to make sure again that rural development is made key, is given a clear priority, because in this country you've got too many slums and squatter camps because people are coming to urban areas looking for opportunities because rural development is deserted. As Congress of the People, we are saying we must make sure that we give priority to rural development so that we can stop this influx of people in urban areas where you create a never-ending story. You build houses today, you clear slums, tomorrow there are more slums emerging because people are keep on coming to urban areas.
Thank you very much, Coach Becky Kusi. Next up, and our second last panelist, our penultimate panelist, and Manzoor Imam from the National Freedom Party.
The National Freedom Party was born as a result of the failure of many parties to provide a service to the community and to the entire South Africa. Number one on our list, the National Freedom Party is a party that has put together a strategy, a special committee to monitor service delivery in the length and breadth of this country. And that committee will work independently of all other committees. Now, in order to do that, the NFP has now invested a lot of money into the most sophisticated computer software to ensure that councillors in these particular municipalities are performing. A needs analysis will be done of all the different municipalities, what the needs are of the community, the councillors that are going to be working in those areas, the performance, the work that is being done, and that is going to be updated on a computer. And the NFP has taken a decision that any councillor in any ward representing the NFP does not perform, even if he's an elected commentator, will be removed even if there's a by-election. That's the first thing. Now, the other thing is this, the NFP is saying there is no doubt that the country is going downhill. We cannot deny that. And that is the reason why we were born. We are saying if you talk about economic development, yes. If you talk about, let me give you one instance, if you talk about KZN for that matter, and especially Durban. The textile industry was one of the most vibrant industries that you've had here. It's no more. And the result is you would find that the Chinese have filled this town up. You understand? So what has happened? As a result of that, there is unemployment. So on the one hand, the ANC government is saying they're going to create employment, but on the other hand, they're creating unemployment. The other thing we are saying is if you look at housing, take the integrity, there's not even a waiting list as far as housing is concerned. We are saying in partnership together with private sector and business and overseas investors, we can do a lot better as far as housing is concerned for the people in this country. We're talking about education, we are saying...
Thank you very much, Manzoor Imam from the NFP. And finally, the ANC's Praveen Gordhan.
Thank you. The ANC is the government. The ANC is the only organization that can promise and deliver. The ANC will deliver 400,000 housing units in the next 5 years. The ANC will create social and rental housing units, 80,000 of them in the next 5 years. The ANC will give now a new authority to the eThekwini municipality to build houses. Until now, the province was in charge. Now, Durban will be able to build houses and serve directly its own people. The ANC will create 250,000 jobs minimum each year for the next 10 years. The ANC has put aside 9 billion rands to create a jobs fund. No other party can do that for anybody. The ANC gives the motor industry, for example, 15 billion rands a year to create jobs in the motor industry, particularly in the Eastern Cape. The ANC has asked the IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation, to start with a fund of 10 billion rands, and there's another fund being built up of 100 billion rands to support businesses, small, micro, and large, so that they can create jobs in South Africa. The ANC wants to control the usage and distribution of alcohol, so that alcohol abuse and drug abuse in our communities is under control. The ANC is investigating corruption to the tune of 20 billion rands through the Special Investigation Unit headed by Willie Hofmeyr. And that is going to mean that lots of people are going to end up in jail. Many have already ended up in jail. Only the ANC has the ability to fight corruption, to clean up councillors, to clean up officials, and to make sure that South Africa is better. The ANC is going to ensure that more is invested in youth and training of youth. We have given Minister Blade Nzimande 6 billion rands more for the next 3 years to support the training institutions, the further education and training colleges.
Thank you very much. That's Mr. Praveen Gordhan from the ANC. And so you have it. Those are our 6 panelists joining us this afternoon. Of course, we are going to be interacting on various issues today, and we're going to give you each an opportunity to interact on the issues that really affect the people out there at home and those who have joined us in the hall this afternoon. Let me introduce our final member of our panel. Professor Kati Govender is a former Human Rights Commissioner and a law professor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Really, have they answered our question this afternoon? We've put to them, is it really more of the same that they've delivered? Have they delivered more rhetoric to us, or have they answered our question of giving us 2 promises that they plan to deliver?
I think what the voters have to decide is, I think, on 2 separate issues. Firstly, they have to reflect on the past performances of the different political parties. So that's going to be an objective analysis, and I urge people to do this from a perspective of rationality and objectivity, not emotion, not irrelevant considerations, but those 2 factors. So the first is reflect on the past performances and determine whether parties have delivered on what they told us in the past. And secondly, I think to be in a way prospective, to ask what are their present plans? Do these parties have the capacity, the potential and the goodwill to improve the quality of all lives of South Africans? Not a particular individual or a particular community, but the entire country. And I think that we need, in this debate, for specifically the politicians to address us on those 2 issues. And I'd like the voters, at the end of this, to make a decision on those 2 specific issues. The past, have they delivered? And with the message that they're conveying now, do we trust them? Do we think they have the capacity and potential to deliver on what they are promising?
What do you think of some of the advertising that has been out there? Of course, they talk about the current performance, they talk about their past achievements. We're going to ask them now as well about their party performance in their adverts, but what have you made from that in the press and in other sectors?
Because I'm judging on these 2 criteria, negative advertisements don't impress me whatsoever. Negative advertisements seem to suggest that we don't have a plan, we don't have a thought capacity to impress you, so we'll pull the other person down. So the negative issues don't impress me. Similarly, when Mr. Gordhan was speaking and people were booing him, the message that I get is that you must deal with him on an intellectual level. If you boo him, that means you're suggesting we want to keep you quiet. And again, that doesn't impress me. So I think what we need to do is we need to look at the message that is being conveyed. And we need to ask ourselves, can we trust that message? Is that message intellectually sustainable for the country? Will it take us forward? And that's what I'm looking for. The posters put faces on posters, but I'm really looking for a message, and that's what I'm looking for in this debate.
And in essence, campaigns that of the parties that have been going around so far have been adverts which publicize your activities. Let's look at some of the marketing campaigns that have been at the press recently, and I'll refer first to the DA's George Murray. One of your adverts reads, "Can you trust the Minority Front? They sold your votes to the ANC many times before. Will they do it again?" Before you have a chance to respond, let's read another advert from the Minority Front this time. It has a picture of Helen Zille and Jacob Zuma dancing together on stage. The caption reads, "This is why you should vote for the Minority Front." The question that I'd like to put to both of you, and George Murray, you're welcome to answer first from the DA, is this more about fighting each other than fighting for the community, than fighting for the people, issues that they want to see you deliver on?
I think if you look at every advert and every article in the local newspapers, the Minority Front is concentrating 99% of its efforts on the Democratic Alliance. Now the DA is not in government in KwaZulu-Natal. We are in government in the Western Cape. Criticize us where we govern in Western Cape, in all the municipalities where we have services of excellence.
And this is an example of you criticizing the Minority Front, though. So let's get to the issue. Let's answer that question.
Okay. We are saying that because the Minority Front, and Mr. Rajbansi in particular, have went out to the electorate and he said he will not have a coalition with the ANC. Now this time around he's saying he's going to have a coalition, and he's also said he's going to talk to Premier Zweli Mkhize about a coalition. It's about positions what a small party actually can get. And we are telling people out there, we are not interested in that type of rhetoric. We are saying that we have a plan.
You're not interested in it, but that is the advert that's out there.
Well,
Mr. Rajbansi, let's go to you. Is this a battle for power and personalities in this election?
One of the things, in 2006, we ran a very clean campaign. 4 days before the election, they placed big adverts, vote for the MFs, vote for the AG. The voters gave them 35% thumbs down, gave us 30% thumbs up. 5 days ago, there is not a single occasion where we attacked the DA. We responded to attacks.
The people in the audience disagree with you. I'm sure there's listeners at home.
Stage managed. We said in the Sunday Times that after the election, DA, IFP, NFP, ANC all should hold hands in a multi-party approach, because this city is in the mud.
And how do you do that, Mr. Rajbansi? Let me ask you the question. How do you agree in a multi-party approach when you're making scathing remarks?
The principle of multi-party
Mr. Rajbansi, let me ask you a question first. How do you work together in a multi-party approach?
You can work.
When you're making scathing remarks about a fellow party member?
I am not making scathing. That's your manufacturing. You have a WAP.
Mr. Rajbansi,
we have no. We
he's
have
asking,
not.
He's asking you a question.
No, we have not attacked the DA. They are in bed with the IFP. They dance to Jacob Zuma. They say stop Zuma. They take on ANC job.
Okay, thank you.
They are in cahoots with the ANC.
A
vote for the DA
thank you very much,
is a vote for the ANC retirement plan.
Mr. Rajbansi,
hang on, Mr.
Rajbansi. They are backpedaling.
Mr. Rajbansi, just a reminder that we can switch off his microphone if we do wish to. Professor Gathi Govender, obviously you seem to be quite interested in this topic. I'm sure you have some thoughts.
I want us to move on, please. I really am not interested in the fight between Mr. Rajbansi and the DA. Quite honestly, I'm interested in policies that could improve the quality of lives of people. So Mr. Rajbansi and Mr. Murray, please, let's move and let's reflect on policy. Whatever you all do outside, this is not a party political rally. So let's move on, please. Thank you.
Let's ask Praveen Gordhan. I see your hand is up for, of course, the ANC. Many of your adverts speak to the party's anti-apartheid legacy. Is it necessary, you think, to remind people of the legacy of where the party comes from, despite the criticisms that are out there?
No, absolutely. Professor Govender said, let's look at past performance. The biggest thing we've achieved in this country is to have freedom and democracy and equality and non-racialism for all South Africans. That's why we fought apartheid.
And
that's why apartheid was regarded as a crime against humanity by the United Nations, not by me or somebody else, and by the United Nations.
And so for many younger South Africans...
I think you must give me a chance now.
Sure,
You've asked me a question.
Go ahead.
Right. So past performance in terms of pre-1994 does matter. Performance after 1994, and Professor Govender's point was around capacity to improve all lives. Well, the only organization that can talk to anybody in the world here is the ANC. The only organization that can go to the Chinese and say, can go to the Chinese and say, can we negotiate around the kinds of things that are happening to damage jobs in South Africa is the ANC, and President Zuma has led a delegation to the Chinese and is starting to talk about that. And by the way, nobody is going to be able to stop President Zuma. None of them have the capacity to do so.
Mr. Gordon,
so let me finish by saying that if you look at past performance and capacity, the two criteria Professor Govender was talking about, the proof is there. Whether it's jobs, infrastructure, etc., the proof is there.
Many of the younger South Africans are voting age. When you talk about the legacy of apartheid, the anti-apartheid struggle, they may have no recollection of the struggle. Their immediate concerns are, will I have a job when I leave university? Can I even afford to go to university? These are their pressing concerns. Is it a good thing to remind them of the apartheid struggle? Are you hoping to capture their hearts and not their minds?
No, we need to capture both. But let's talk about going to university. We have created a National Student Assistance Fund. And that fund has billions of rands in it. In fact, last year, 2 billion rands wasn't spent. And we've added more of that 6 billion rands, I said, that Minister Nzimande has been given. More of that money, half of that money, will go to assisting students to get into universities. You talked about jobs. That's exactly what our growth path is about. It's about changing our economy, encouraging more businesses, and ensuring that we do in fact create jobs in South Africa. So the young people have greater hope with the ANC than anybody else.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. Let's go to the NFP then. Imam Mansoor.
That is arrogance at its highest level, and that's the ANC. The ANC has always been saying they are in control, they have the checkbook. Yes, they've got the checkbook with them. What have they done with the checkbook for the last 17 years? Very little or nothing. That's the first thing. What have they done about corruption? Nothing. We're now talking about giving 200 or 250 million rand for housing. Tegwini doesn't even have a housing list. How are you going to allocate those houses? That's the other thing. The third thing is you're talking about corruption. You're talking about not being able. On the one hand, you say there's going to be no corruption. The next day you hear some pal, some friend of some of the party of the ANC has got a tender, I've got a 100 million rand contract, and he's got 20 million rand contract. Every other day, that is what you hear. And not enough action is being taken about. Over and above that, let's talk about, besides the crime rate, they're talking about bringing down the crime rate and freedom. What freedom do we really have? You can't even live in your own homes today, even if you've got a burglar guard, even with a security guard. So what freedom are we talking about?
Imam Mansoor, thank you very much. Let's involve the two party members that have not had a chance to speak yet. Copes, Bheki Kusi, and then we will interact with Ibrahim Sheikh as well from IFP. I do recognize that Mr. Amichan Rajbansi will also like to speak on this. Let's try and do that. Cope, you first.
No, thank you. I think it's worrying and deceiving for ANC to claim the removal of the apartheid system alone. I think the removal of the apartheid system, which was a disease, it was a collective effort. It was not an ANC thing. It was a collective effort. So South Africans removed apartheid. And you must also understand that to ensure that apartheid was history, there was a political will from the white communities also. We must acknowledge that. It's important. Secondly, Minister Gordon is talking about drugs that is killing our country. And strangely enough and surprisingly enough, the wife of a Minister of Intelligence has been found guilty of selling drugs. Now, you're talking of the ANC that is saying drug abuse is wrong in this country. But a minister who is tasked with the function of ensuring that the state is secured, his own wife is found guilty of selling drugs.
Mr. Kusi, thank you very much. Ibrahim Sheikh from the IFP. And then, of course, I hear the audience. Of course, you would like to interact. We are going to be obviously asking you for some questions now, but the IFP will have a chance to speak first.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it is quite evident. Our message out there to the voters, it is about you. Election is about you. It's, very little is being done with regards to the people's plight with the current government that we have. So therefore, our message out there, which appeals the youth as well, because like you just said, the history of South Africa, we go back 20 years, we come back 5 years, and then we go back another 30 years. So the IFP's message is loud and clear. we are capturing the minds of the youths, and we're saying to them, this election here, which is the local government election that you're going to elect a local councillor that you can interact with, is to do about you and that councillor. And therefore, when we're hearing about the corruption and the housing and all that goes by, it is true that when you get involved as constituencies, voters, then it means that you play a meaningful role. And therefore, this debate that is taking place here, I applaud this debate on the basis that we are now educating the voters out there in their thousands that this election is about you. We're not fighting another political party on his banners and the toilet
Are you
system.
fighting amongst yourselves though? Because
No.
if we look just a couple seats away from you, there was a former IFP member.
Well, you know, South Africa has got its democracy. If you're not happy with something, then off you go. Because it is quite simple that we are interested in making the community that we govern for the community to benefit out of governance,
Mr.
good
Sheikh,
governance.
Mr. Sheikh, thank you very much. Let's take members of the audience who would like to speak. I do recognize Mr. Rajbansi would like to speak, but I'm sure there will be questions for you out there. Let's take two. Sir, we will give you a chance to respond to this. Let's take a question first. Ma'am, your name and what would you like to say?
Good afternoon. My name is Nomfundo Mkhize from the Howard College Debating Union, UKZN. My question is to the opposition parties. The issue that I've kind of gotten from the debates is this whole issue of what is effective governance and is ANC an effective government? And, you know, the issue is that government is not the ANC. Government consists of even the opposition parties. So within the opposition parties sitting up there today, are there any policies or any plans in ensuring that opposition parties within municipalities are going to be working together in order to build, you know, a competent David against the perceived Goliath that's the ANC, in order to keep ANC on their toes so that we do get effective governance?
Thank you very much for the question. Mr. Rajbansi, I know you want to interact on this, so let's hear what you have to say.
The measuring tool of democracy is how the majority accommodates multi-party. What we saw today from Minister of Finance is typical ANC arrogance. 5 years ago, the Minister of Finance said, we are dishing out this. Talk is cheap, but it's money that buys the whiskey. We are giving you this for job creation. The result was 1 million jobs were lost. In this province, Premier said in his budget speech, 145,000 jobs were lost. We are failing with manufacture. The agricultural revolution is not taking place. We are failing with agriculture, and everything is on the downslide. So what do we say? We accept the sweetness. We accept what is being planned. You must not come with arrogance to say only the majority party can do things, because you haven't got two-thirds. You haven't got two-thirds here. Because when you get 52%, you need another party to run councils.
I think you've answered the question.
You are struggling with Amdoni.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajbansi.
You might lose here.
Mr. Praveen Gordhan, there were some charges made against you, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to respond to that. And of course, we'll speak to our analyst as well. Mr. Amichand Rajbansi charged the ANC with being arrogant, and some few statements already being arrogant, as he says. Is that true? Because some of the people out there may perceive it to be when they hear the ANC.
Those who
let me finish my question first, sir. When they hear the ANC saying that it will be in power until Jesus returns, when they hear the ANC saying that if you vote for the ANC, it guarantees you a place in heaven, when they hear you say that if you don't vote for the ANC, you're going to go to hell, when they hear the leader of your party say that a vote for the ANC is a vote for Jesus, these type of statements suggest that the party is arrogant. Is Mr. Rajbansi right when he puts that to you?
No, with great respect, no. Our business is not to be arrogant. We've learned what it means to be humble long before many people here did. Let me tell you what I was saying. What I was saying is that we should not delude your listeners into believing that because you make a promise, you can deliver. In order to deliver, you need a 51% majority in any municipality, not two-thirds. Secondly, you must have the means to deliver. And all I was saying is, if you want to talk about concrete record, then here are the concrete facts. Don't mistake that for arrogance. These are facts. These are not promises. These are not illusions. So, we reject the allegation of arrogance. And let me say one thing. We're not interested in this inter-party banter. What we're interested in is how do we make people's lives better? And nobody has sacrificed more than ANC leaders over the last century in order to do so, and we will continue to do so. And our record speaks for itself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Praveen Gordhan. We're going to take another question from the audience. Professor Karthi Govender?
Sorry, let me just speak to Mr. Gordhan for a second. Mr. Gordhan, just reflecting on your record in local government, you have a number of municipalities now under Section 139 management. You had a report, which we heard had been tabled by yourself probably before Cabinet, indicating the very serious concerns about financial maladministration at local government level. Have you made a mistake in terms of not keeping an appropriate balance between efficiency and employees at local government level? And if there was, or if that mistake has occurred, what are you going to say to the voters now to ensure that we don't make similar mistakes under your stewardship in the future?
Add to that, if we look at the Treasury report on the audit outcomes of municipalities, 46 municipalities have not issued audit reports. 70% of them have financial information for municipalities that's unusable.
Can you
Go ahead,
get the
sir.
facts right first? You see, the fact is there was a corrective statement from the government which said that is a report of the Auditor General. So had you read your newspapers after you read what you read, you would have read the statement which says that's the report of the Auditor General. The Auditor General produces these reports every year. It's not a unique report now. Every year the Auditor General audits municipalities, audits provincial governments, audits national departments. The third thing, that report was presented by the Auditor General to the Cabinet. Fourthly, when he's ready, it's not my report, it's his report, the Auditor General will make that public. Fifthly, we as the National Treasury publish financial statistics of municipalities regularly. And so you're welcome to have a look at that. It'll tell you what's happening in every municipality. Sixth, as Professor Govender will know.
And finally, yes? I have to take more questions from the audience.
You ask a question, give me the right to reply. Finally, if we look at local government in South Africa, let's not forget that most of this country didn't have proper local government. Most of this country was under Bantustans before 1994. So yes, there are weaknesses in municipalities. You cannot correct 100 or 150 years legacy in 17 years. And yes, there have been mistakes. Yes, there have been mistakes.
Thank you very much.
We'll correct them.
Thank you very much, sir. I do recognize two people from the audience that would like to speak, as well as the members of our panel. I will try to get to you, sir. Let's try and take questions from the audience first. So go ahead.
My name is Sabir Jazbai. I live in Ward 37, Newlands West. Make a note of that. None of your political parties have ever addressed the issues, carping, sniping at one another. And what shocks me as a minority Indian is that there's a concerted effort being made to sideline Indians. The market issue is the first one that eats into my soul. And I need to answer, what solution does the African National Congress and the DA and whatever parties have? We want solutions, not political sloganeering. Please save us the bullshit. Thank you.
And we'll remind our audience and members of our audience and those listeners at home, please try and keep your language in this debate. We're trying to keep it very formal and respectable as well. I know Mr. Raj Bansi would like to interact on this, but I recognize the question was directed to the DA as well. Let's get Mr. George Murray to answer, and I'm sure we'll take you after that. Mr. George Murray from the DA.
Yeah, look, what we're hearing from Minister Gordhan today is the same promises that they make over and over again. We are in 17 years in democracy. What this government is doing, it says it's built 3 million houses. More than half of them have to be rebuilt at a cost of about 56 billion rand. Crime, they say they're addressing crime, but they're leaving hundreds and hundreds of criminals that have been convicted for murder and for rape and for robbery onto the streets in the name of somebody's birthday. You cannot address crime like that.
But the question was about the market, sir.
Yeah. The issue,
what is the DA doing to help those market traders that are out there now?
If we are in government in eThekwini municipality, we will ensure that that market remains where it is. Like we fought for the documentation center that was supposed to be moved, that it remains where it is.
Thank you, Mr. George Murray. Mr. Amichan Rajbansi from the MF.
On the question of Auditor General, there is a SCOPA report. That's a relevant report. And the SCOPA report finds the municipalities guilty. Let's forget Bantustan. The city of choice, capital, has collapsed. What is Bantustan? This city is collapsing. I want you to check the minutes of Equatorial municipality. The ANC was supported by only one party to demolish the market, and they wear a blue t-shirt, the DA. Check the minutes. Check the minutes.
Let's take another question from the audience. We'll be taking another question from the audience first, sir.
My name is Kenneth Ntola. I'd like to know from Mr. Minister Kodam if he is still keen on lifestyle audits to fight corruption that he once promised, and if those lifestyle audits will include the officials of the eThekwini municipality. Thank you.
Would you like to respond, sir?
Yeah, that was in my previous job, you see. When I was Commissioner of SARS, then I would have done a lifestyle audit on all of the people here. But it doesn't look like I'll get much taxes from here. No, the policy of the South African Revenue Service is still to do what does a lifestyle audit mean? It means if you're driving a fancy car or living in a fancy house and your income declared doesn't actually match that, then we go and look for taxes. Because those taxes should in fact be paid so that we can do all the things that we're saying that we want to do. Without getting taxes from people, we can't do it. Mr. Jazbai's question, convener, was also addressed to the ANC. What are the Indians doing? Well, I think I'm Indian, or Indian origin. I'm the finance minister of this government. I don't think I'm sidelined. It is true that in Durban there have been a few issues that we need to actually deal with. But Indians in government, in the cabinet, for example, ministers and deputy ministers, equal 8%. We are a 2 or 3% population in South Africa. The ANC is the organization that over the years has done the right thing in terms of promoting non-racialism. Now, we could be frustrated with one or two issues, but don't confuse that with genuine non-racialism in this country and who has the best ability. It's only the DA only recently has woken up to dancing on the platform with Africans. Right? Before that, you didn't know what African people even looked like.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. Let's involve the Congress of the People. Much has been said about your party, an implosion from within, some have called it. Who is the leader of the Congress of the People today?
There's one COPE and there's one president. Anyone who's confused is not a South African. There's one COPE and there's one co-president, and Musiwa Terra Likota. But I want to start by saying, I think as South Africans and politicians, we must now refrain from classifying our people in South Africa. I don't believe in an Indian vote. I don't believe in colored votes. I don't believe in black votes. I don't believe in white votes. Because if you're looking for an Indian, go to India. Go to India. People of Indian origin who are in South Africa are South Africans. So stop marginalizing our people. As COPE, we are saying South Africans are South Africans, and when you deal with issues that affect South Africans, deal with issues affecting them as South Africans. Stop classifying them. Two, a lady asked a question of effective and efficient governance. And she went further and said, we are part of government as opposition parties who are sitting here. It's important to understand that for you to take and make decisions in the government, you need a certain number. As political parties, we are in government and we are against a lot of things that are done by the ruling party. But because if you go to the National Assembly in Cape Town, you'll find that the benches are full of people who are supporting the wrong things. But the blame must not be put on us as political parties or opposition parties, but the blame must go to South Africans who continuously vote for the wrong party.
Thank you very much, Mr. Becky Kusi. Let's involve the IFP as well. Ibrahim Sheikh, we've heard a lot of talk about service delivery issues, about councillors working in their communities. What's your party's take on, especially what we've heard around the country? Listeners have told us about councillors who run security companies, who run grass cutting companies, shebeens in their own communities, while we hear Minister Pravin Gordhan talk about the liquor acts that he wants to implement. We hear of councillors that are receiving full salaries, yet and not a stipend, not an honorarium for their work that they're doing, to ensure that attention is given to the most important issues. Should councillors have businesses on the side?
Not at all. And the IFP is very vocal. But I just want to speak very quickly on what the IFP's mandate. Not to tolerate corruption. We will implement mechanisms to ensure the greater transparency and the expenditure in our city. Details of this expenditure over certain amounts will be posted on websites where people of business acumen will be able to start looking at what is happening as far as the investments and as well as the job creation within the market. And you know, when you just asked the question whether officials and councillors should be involved in business activities in the country.
Because
Really?
this is about public service, not self-enrichment.
Yes, this is to serve the community, and when you are voted in as a councillor, your only mandate you have is to serve your community on the basis of them voting for you as a councillor, not as a businessman.
Mr. Ibrahim Sheikh, thank you very much for your time. Of course, we do have to take a short ad break. We will be back, but the question that I'd like to leave us with, and perhaps when we return, Minister Pravin Gordhan, the ANC's representative that's here, can answer this question for us. Why have we not heard or named a mayoral candidate for the city of eThekwini? Perhaps he can answer that when we return. We'll take a short break. News break comes back after this. There'll be a short news bulletin at 2 o'clock. More from the SABC's headquarters here in KZN as we discuss an election debate. A very good afternoon. Welcome back to the SABC's election debate here, coming to you live from the SABC's headquarters in KwaZulu-Natal. We've got 6 political party representatives with us, and the question I posed before the break was to the ANC's Minister Pravin Gordhan. Minister Gordhan, why have we not heard who the mayoral candidate is for the city of eThekwini?
The general policy of the ANC, with one or two exceptions, is that we don't believe one candidate makes a difference. It's a collection of councillors who must go into a council, implement the policies and promises that we've actually made, and deliver upon them. And we'll make sure that as soon as the elections are over, we'll tell you who the mayoral candidate is.
And not before, like the other parties have done?
We don't see the need for that. We're not saying one individual. Surely, one individual, because you name this person as an individual, isn't going to make the difference. It's whether you have enough votes in that council
that may
and
be
enough
something,
confidence.
That may be something you understand, but for the electorate out there who often make these placards, don't put up the ANC's name, but put up Zuma's name on the placards. Put up the names of the councillors who are not delivering in their area. Put up the names of candidates who they voted for. They remember names and not necessarily the party.
But it's not the mayor. It's not the mayor comes from one ward. Each of our wards have candidates. Each of those candidates have placards up. Now, I don't want to get into an inter-party fight, but there are many parties here who haven't put up a single candidate picture up. They're relying on the national leader or whatever leader it is to actually get their votes. The ANC has candidates in every ward. Each of them have their own posters. You will see those posters in those areas.
0893108789. We'll go to the lines and we'll take an audience member first. Sir, your question and your name first.
Thank you, sir. I'm Siboniso Majola from UKZN, from the new powerhouse called the NFP. I would like to pose my question to Comrade Mansouri that what is the NFP's policy position?
Sir, we discourage you from asking a question to your own party, as we explained in our rules in the beginning. So I'm going to have to thank you, and you can take your seat. We will take another question from the audience in a short while. Let's take 2 callers then. First of all, we have Sunny. Sunny, good afternoon.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. We, SAMRAM, have embarked on various minority rights equality movement for Indians and Coloreds, and we are a non-political body. Recently, we presented a memorandum to the Premier at Government Legislature demanding the ANC Jimmy Manning be fired for making statements that the Indians bargained themselves to top positions and that there are too many colors in the Western
Sani,
Cape.
I'm going to have to rush you. What's your question?
My question is, should the equity bill come into light, then there's 300,000 Indians and 1 million colors that will be affected. And the only politician, Mr. Rajbansi, who is
Thank you very
holding
much,
a
Sunny.
stand.
Let's leave it there. Your question was heard. Let's go. We'll take another caller before we refer those questions to our panel members. It's Mr. Chetty. Mr. Chetty, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man. I would like to know, what is the ANC doing to shut Julius Malema's mouth? 1. 2, when it came to democracy, to me it seemed more like F.W. de Klerk initiated the whole thing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chetty. We can't have you ask many questions over the line. Let's refer then first to Minister Praveen Gordhan. It seems both of those questions would then be posed to you. First of all, Jimmy Manyi's controversial comments about Indians and Khalids, and then, of course, Mr. Malema's controversial comments.
Mr. Manya is not government. Mr. Manya is not the ANC. Mr. Manya doesn't determine policy in government. We do as the ANC.
And the ANC is made up of members, right?
Okay.
So go ahead.
And the statement I want to make very emphatically is that the ANC does not believe in discriminating against people that it has worked with for over 100 years. We are not. We are the organization that will ensure that we promote the rights of all South Africans on an equal basis. Mr. Malema is a young man. He doesn't make policy on his own, as the president of the ANC has said. He can have a policy position if he likes. We are a free democracy. We've gone over the period where we used to lock people up for speaking freely. We can't lock him up. He's entitled to say what he wants to say. But not everything he says is ANC policy.
Mr. Gordhan, thank you very much. Professor Karthik Govender, you'd like to interact on this, and we'll take another question.
Briefly, please. Would you say now that the amendments to the proposed bill, where you look at national demographics as opposed to regional demographics, are you going to have a re-look at that, or are you committed to changing it from regional to national? Because it seems that Mr. Mani's comments and those proposals have gone hand in hand, and that's what's caused the major concern. How would you assuage people that you're not going to have a situation where there's a massive movement of communities? You'd understand the disruption that caused in the past when communities were moved, etc. And so that's what Mr. Mani's comments have touched. It's touched that great fear.
Nobody is going to be moved in South Africa as a result of who you might be. Nobody. We've had enough of that in South Africa. Secondly, as far as that's a bill, as you know, Professor. It's not a law. And the President himself, President Zuma, has said that we will do nothing in government that discriminates against anyone. And lastly, the President has also said we're going to re-look at all of that and ensure that there's a fair approach on this particular question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordhan. Let's take a question from the audience, and we will refer back to our panelists after this. Ma'am, your question, your name first. Ma'am, please go ahead.
About the microphone. My name is Dela Rose Bassa. I've been a teacher all my life. I want to know from Mr. Gordhan. I have great respect for you. You're a decent man, and I have great sympathy for you today because you've been sent like a lamb to the slaughter to defend indefensible policies. Having said that, you may say that Jimmy Manyi is not the ANC, he's not the government. You may say that
Ma'am,
he doesn't
I'm going to have to rush you. What's your question?
But he is the spokesman. Don't forget that. Secondly, Malema is not a young man, he's an old man, he's middle-aged. And I want to know, you talk about you have billions set aside for this, you have another billion set aside for that, and a couple of 100,000 here and there. That's all our money, actually.
Yes, of course.
It's our money, right? Don't forget that.
Thank you very much.
And
I think we can't have members of the audience standing on soapboxes either. We have to have questions, ma'am.
How
Thank
are you
very
going to
much.
ensure transparency and accountability now when you have not done that in the last 17 years?
Minister Gordhan, and we'll take Mr. Amichand Rajbansi after that.
South Africa and government is not just judged by South Africans, we're judged by the world. So just for your information and the information of your listeners, the National Treasury has won twice in a row the international prize amongst 94 countries for budget transparency. There's enough information for anybody who wants to have it. On the question of Mr. Manyi, I repeat, Mr. Manyi and what he had to say is his personal views. He must keep quiet about these issues, and he's been told to shut up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordhan. Mr. Amichand Rajbansi from the Minority Front.
Just a few points. We must not take a few high positions, South Africans are in religion, and forget the masses. Jimmy Mania, Trevor Manuel was castigated by the Secretary General ANC for taking a high moral ground. The policy is racism because you classify people according to Indian colors, black and white. And there is a migration of Indians to Gauteng. It is racism of which Wetkainen, Indians and coloreds and whites are treated as second-class citizens in this country.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's take another member of the audience. We'll try to take as many as we can now, because we are rushing out of time.
Play of Chatsworth.
Go ahead,
This
sir.
is to Mr. Rajbansi. Our fishermen cannot fish from the Durban piers. What is the MF views on this terrible ban? Thank you.
We'll take more questions. We'll take another question, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Jenny Slinger. My question is to the ANC, Mr. Praveen Gordhan. Mr. Praveen Gordhan, my question to you is that you said in '94 you were given a freedom. Yes. Within the 17 years of ANC ruling the country, there's been so much corruption. You says you all handle everything. Yes. I'd like to say you handle everything. That is why there's so much corruption. There's so much corruption within the municipalities. For example, I'd like to ask you, the people that were dismissed in Pietermaritzburg, I'd like to know why are they still in a position?
A very good question, ma'am. Let's take one more member from the audience and we'll go back to our panel after that.
My name is Maureen Rambadra Singh, and my question is to the ANC and, of course, to the analyst as well. I would like to know, with all the housing that South Africans have been given, there's a huge problem where people are becoming dehoused through the Sectional Titles Act. Our Justice Department also is appointing administration to all these buildings, where council is actually selling these houses to our people, but they're being dehoused because of the process that they are going through. In terms of administration, loan providers, the banks are funding them. A serious issue in Durban High Court. We've got many cases there.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your point. I think we've got the gist of it. Let's take one more and then we'll go back to our panel members. Yes, sir.
My name is Devchand Ganesh. My question is directed at Minister Gordhan. We have heard at the beginning of the debate of the universal problem of joblessness and poverty, yet the ANC government on occasions allows public money to be used for the promotion of party political gains. For example, the International Youth Convention that was held in South Africa was a dismal failure. What criteria do you use when you use up public funds for party political purposes?
Thank you very much, sir. I think, in essence, if I may at least characterize all of these questions in one, it really has to do with the people. Who are the people that are delivering at these council levels? Are they corrupt in themselves? Do they lack the capacity? Are there poor governance issues? Minister Gordhan, clearly all of these questions are directed at your party, having control of most of the municipalities in this country. How are we dealing with the lack of capacity? Because clearly you've said already, there are very skilled people at national level. Why is it not filtering down to our local government?
No, the Durban municipality has some of the best skilled officials in the country. And it's one of the best run municipalities in the country as well. So if you take it issue for issue, Durban is better than Cape Town or any other municipality, and I know because I've checked it. The first point. Second point, let's get corruption into perspective. You see, there are 1 million members in the ANC now, all can't be corrupt. There are 1.2 or 3 million civil servants, they can't all be corrupt. There are 200 councillors that will be in Durban. They can't all be corrupt. So if you put this in perspective, there are some that are corrupt. There's nobody, even in the ANC, who's going to say that they are not, both on the official side, on the business side, and on the politician side. Remember how corruption works. Somebody's got to say, I offer you a bribe, I take the bribe, and I become corrupt in the process, or the other way about. We will fight that, and there's a record of actually fighting
Minister
it.
Gordon, do we see more delivery now? Do we see our roads being repaved, our grasses being cut, our verges being cleaned? Is there more of an issue now to deliver services to the community and meet the needs that people are talking about?
The challenge,
for example, do we have more access to ministers at a local debate?
Yeah, well, I'm here, so you have access. Have fun with it. And the question of services is something that I think we do well. But remember that pre-1994, we had municipalities that essentially dealt with 5 million people. We're now dealing with 50 million people all over the country, not in parts of the country.
So it's a challenge for them.
Can I just finish? So there's the corruption issue, there's the services issue. There's Mrs. Bora Singh raises an important issue. I'd like to hear more about it after this so that we can help her if it's actually possible.
Very briefly,
Mr. Ganesh, I've been asked the questions. Mr. Ganesh has actually raised the question of public money. Let's make it very clear to Mr. Ganesh, public money shouldn't be used for political purposes or party purposes at all. And we must put our foot down to make sure it is not used in that kind of way. And lastly, for anybody on this platform to talk about second-class citizens in a modern democracy is not correct. The same individual who talked about that was in alliance with the ANC in this province.
Minister Gordon, we have to end it there with you.
So there are no second-class citizens in South Africa.
I can hear Mr. Rajbansi.
Mr. Praveen Gordon is talking a filthy lie. Show me an alliance document. He's a filthy liar. First of all, he's a filthy liar.
We don't need personal
Show me an alliance document.
Mr. Rajbansi, you don't have to have a document.
What I'm saying.
You were in alliance with the ANC.
We have never been in alliance with the ANC. Never.
All right.
Never.
All right. Mr. Rajbansi has denied that he's been in alliance with the ANC.
Never.
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 Being called a liar.
Yes, I accept that.
And we do as well.
And we do that.
Let me come
Mr.
to
Rajbansi, we're stopping that. Please, let's move on to Mr. Kosi. Please go ahead, Mr. Kosi. I'll come back to you when you calm down, Mr. Rajbansi. We'll come back to you in a minute. Mr. Kosi, let's go ahead.
One, it is important for all of us to understand that Jimmy Manyi is the mouthpiece of the government, and the government is the ANC. So whatever pronouncements that Jimmy Manyi makes, those are pronouncements of the ANC. Two, the ANC has been masquerading as a champion of the poor. But recently, in the media, we have seen people in Ward 76 at Emalandeni in Umlazi, whose shelters have been removed forcefully by eThekwini municipality officials. So then, where is that pro-poor policy of the ANC when you leave women with children homeless forcefully without even allocating a proper accommodation for them and their family to go and have a proper shelter? Where is that proper ANC pro-poor policy?
Thank you, Mr. Kosi. Earlier on you said that people are voting for the ANC and people must take some responsibility for not voting for other political parties. But 1 million people voted for you in the last election. 1.3. And how did you reward them? By imploding. How? And your party collapsed. It virtually exploded. Now you have a situation where people put their trust in you, and what they got was virtually nothing. How do you now go back to them and say, trust us one more time with this valuable thing?
I think we have to correct these misperceptions that are going around in the country that the COPE has collapsed. Because this is not correct. South Africans, I think the number that we got in 2009 will be multiplied now. Because South Africans understand that our basic founding principles was to ensure that we fight corruption. We didn't say that as COPE we are anti-corruption if it is committed by the ANC. We said even within our own house, if you commit corruption, you have no place in our organization.
Mr. Kusi, thank you very much, Mr. Kusi. We have to take an ad break. Unfortunately, sir, we have to take an ad break. We will come back to you after this break. A news break. You're listening to News Break, exclusive to Lotus FM. I'm Darshan Midley. We'll be back after this.
The following party election broadcast is brought to you in terms of the ICASA regulations governing the election period. The views expressed in this party election broadcast are those of the political party and not those of the SABC.
This is Shamin Thakur Rajbansi from the Minority Front.
Our youth are our most valued possession. Amendments to the Employment Equity Bill, affirmative action and the quota system will lead to job losses and a generation of minority youths lost in transformation. The Minority Front calls on all youth to fight these challenges by voting on the 18th of May. The MF has proposed a youth employment bill in Parliament and a youth council in the municipalities. Emulate the example of Mr. Rajbansi, who was a fiery youth leader. Vote MF on 2 ballot papers for your future. Thank you.
This party election broadcast was brought to you in terms of the ICASA regulations governing the election period. The views expressed in this party election broadcast are those of the political party and not those of the SABC.
Hurry, Peter! We will be late.
I am. This suitcase, I can't close it.
Can't we close it in the car? And where's the gift? Come, we have to make it.
Peter and Mary.
What? Who is this guy?
You've run a good race, but unfortunately, this is where it ends.
But we are just going to our doctor's wedding.
There is no shame. You ran a good race.
She is our last born.
Imagine if life was as challenging as The Amazing Race. Catch the new exciting season of Amazing Race on SABC3 every Monday at 7:30. Stay with us. Stay with SABC3.
She is our last born.
A very good afternoon once again. You're listening to Newsbreak, brought to you exclusively on Lotus FM. Minister Praveen Gordhan, you're quite upset.
No, I thought Lotus Radio was and SABC was fair and even-handed. Here are 6 or 7 political parties here. You put the advert of one political party
We don't put adverts, so of course they buy advertising time on
in this time slot.
They choose where they purchase it. So let's take a question from the audience then.
My name is Peter David. I'm living in a flat in Lanton, in Gale Street. My question is to the Minister, Mr. Gordhan. Some years ago, the Human Rights Commission in a report stated if the government oust people, they shouldn't be evicted. But I can tell you now, the people are being evicted from these homes in droves. There's no mechanism government have put in place.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your comment. Minister Gordhan, people are complaining about being pushed out of their homes, receiving threatening letters as well. We know of those pensioners out there in our communities who receive threatening letters from the municipality as well when they're not paying their lights, when they've not paid their water, being evicted from their homes. How would you like to address this point?
Well, in that particular case, give us the details after the show, and we'll take it to the municipality and try and sort that out. But generally, we have to pay for that which we receive. And I suppose in some instances, evictions might be justified. In others, they might not be. So we need to work together with the communities to see how we can not put people onto the streets and provide meaningful alternatives for them.
Thank you very much. We do have to start wrapping up, but we will allow Mr. Kusi, I know that you had the floor before we went to the break. What would you like to say, sir?
No, I was continuing to explain that Congress of the People, I think the people will endorse us because what is happening now in our political party where people interpret it as infighting, actually it's what we were formed for. We are ensuring that people who are elements that are corrupt within our organization are removed. And what is happening currently is an endorsement of our founding principles. Therefore, I don't think South Africans can judge us wrongly for fighting what we are formed for. If you are saying for COPE to fight corruption within itself, it's wrong. Therefore, you must keep on voting for the ANC and live in a corrupt country forever.
Mr. Kusi, thank you very much. Mr. Amichand Rajbansi, and we'll take Ibrahim Sheikh as well, and then we do have to start wrapping up. So in the meantime, you can think about our last question that we want to ask you this afternoon. What will you do differently in this election to make sure councillors deliver? You'll have 30 seconds at the end to answer that question, but we'll take these two.
On the question of an issue raised about irregularities, people who have never built a home are now billionaires. People are getting road contracts. The roads are spoiled. A person had 6 trucks 6 years ago is growing tomatoes in our billionaire. Same people. Are they getting paid for jobs not done? On the question of that eviction, Mr. Gordhan, there is a South African law passed in Parliament when you were there. You cannot throw a person onto the street without alternate shelter. If that person has difficulty, come to the MF office. We'll make sure that they are with the shelter.
Thank you, Mr. Rajbansi. Ibrahim Sheikh. Ibrahim Sheikh, I'm going to give you just a short minute to speak.
Yeah, I think what is quite evident as well that Minister Gordon needs to understand where I come from, Ward 68. We will not fulfill that 94 billion rand for the housing rehabilitation program if we don't vote ANC. Now you can see how the ANC is now going out to the community and putting them under threat. So therefore it is not fair when we are talking about democracy. Democracy is free to choose. So therefore we need to make it quite clear to the communities out there.
Mr. Sheikh, thank you very much. We do have to start wrapping up. We've only got 5 minutes left in the program. Each of our panelists will be allowed 30 seconds to make closing comments. And our question to you, what will you do differently in this election to make sure councillors deliver? We'll go in the same order that we introduced you from the Democratic Alliance. George Murray, your time starts now.
Thank you very much. I think that the only choice for people today in South Africa is the Democratic Alliance. We have done it in the Western Cape. We've done it in the Cape Town City Council, where we are the best run. If you give us a vote, we will ensure that a Takwani municipality delivers service to all the people, not on a selected basis. The ANC has failed you in terms of crime, they have failed you in terms of jobs, they have failed you in terms of housing. You have an opportunity to make all that right. And we're telling people now...
Thank you very much, sir. Ibrahim Sheikh from the IFP.
Okay, thank you. This election is about you. Your councillor will be personally a person of integrity, open to you, be fair to you, include you in decision making, be accountable to you, be available to you at all times, take care of your concerns seriously, treat you with dignity and respect, work for you and with you. That's the IFP's slogan.
Thank you very much, sir. Minority Friends, Amichand Rajbansi.
Where our sports minister, KwaZulu-Natal, became the best sports department in the country. In Western Cape, black people are being shot with rubber bullets. There's poor service delivery. On the 18th of May, stop Helen Zille misleading you and dancing with ANC President. Stop Tony Leon going for ANC government job. Your best bet in Durban, in this province, is the minority front.
Becky Kusi from the Congress of the People, you have 30 seconds.
On the 18th of May 2011, vote for a Congress of the People, because we'll offer you credible, incorruptible, ethical and qualified councillors. And we will ensure that in the council we scrap this cater deployment policy of the ANC. We open up a fair platform for people to be appointed on the basis of their qualifications so that they can perform duties in the municipality.
Manzoor Imam from the NFP.
Like I said before, the National Freedom Party has put a program in place to ensure that all their councils throughout the country will be performing. They will be monitored at all given time. So service delivery is one of the most important aspects as far as the National Freedom Party is concerned. And I must say to you that the parties that have been in power in KZN and the country, the ANC and the IFP, have failed the people miserably. Let's be honest about that. The National Freedom Party has come in and we will deliver to the people, we'll be accountable to the people.
Mr. Praveen Gordhan from the ANC.
Well, the first thing is thank you very much for this opportunity to debate. Secondly, let me ask that all citizens, whatever political party you want to support, should vote on the 18th of May. We should take a positive, not a negative view of what we are involved with. Become involved in local politics. Secondly, don't be distracted and motivated by the racism or fear. We are proud South Africans, vote as South Africans. Thirdly, informal settlements are going to receive particular attention from the ANC.
Mr. Gordhan, thank you very much. And so ends our election debate. Of course, Professor Karthik Avanta, I'll give you the last word. We've heard a rather robust discussion this afternoon. Is this going to be the watershed election that many were hoping for?
Well, I hope it's just going to be another election, because what we've been good at from 1994 is holding proper elections. And each election we've got better at. And I think that this process was achieved through tremendous sacrifice of people in terms of life, liberty, and other factors. And we owe it to ourselves, previous generations and future generations, to vote. We have entrenched participatory democracy, representative democracy, and direct democracy in our society. And we need to exercise each of those. So I urge people to vote and to vote rationally on the 18th of May.
Professor Garthi Govender, thank you so much. And to all of our panelists, thank you very much for your participation this afternoon. So ends our town hall debates. We thank you for listening and your participation. If you still want to have your say on the elections, Newsbreak Talk will give you one last opportunity to air your views during our program tomorrow afternoon. Rajiv Kamal will be taking your calls, so tune in at 1 p.m. These programs are brought to you by the SABC and Lotus FM, together with our stunning Newsbreak team. That's executive producer Salma Patel, Ashok Ramsrup, Maya Jagjeevan, Rajiv Kamal, Tharesh Hari Prasad, Prapashni Naike, Nontobeko Sabisi, Genevieve Lanka, and myself, Darshan Mudley. Remember, there are 278 municipalities in South Africa who need capable leaders. There are 50,000 candidates to choose from, but the power rests with you, 23 million eligible voters. So stand up and be counted on May 18th. Goodbye. 18th. Goodbye. 18th. Goodbye. 18th. Goodbye. 18th. Goodbye. 18th. Goodbye.